I was showing Papa Tez and the guys my liquor collection, and they were just gonna like jaw it.
Oh.
It's like, oh, here's $1,000 bottle, here's a $2,000 bottle, and it's like, oh, here's some old rip, and different Van Winkle products and higher end stuff, and it's like, but yeah, no, that's my, I don't know. A
You've
lot of
got
people.
some old pappies?
Yep.
Oh,
You
wow.
got, you got a 10 and a 12. Well, that's it. The others, I haven't been able to convince the wife to let me break open the bank to go kind of get them. Plus, I haven't had a chance to win any lotteries. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's nice when
I-
you can get them for a couple $100, but it's different when you got to buy them for, 2 grand, right?
Are
So
you opening them or are you just saving them?
the 10's open, 12 saved. I
Oh,
have,
tens open.
yeah. Oh, no, we bought it for a special occasion, and then it's just like it sits there and I kind of like eye it from time to time to where it's like, should I go pour some? But I was like, no, but I don't know. It's like if I have it's like, I mean, I say my everyday sipper. I mean, we talked about Macallan, right? But it's like like I said, I have 18 and 21, drink a lot of 18, pretty much as my daily. And then, like I said, we have Stag and everything else that just kind of depends. Like you come home and you're relaxing, watching TV, get
Yeah.
your nice little glass with an ice cube and, you know, enjoy the good times. So,
I have like a little bit left of something that's never again to be created, but it's because I made it. So like I got from my friend's wedding a aging barrel, one of those little like 5 gallon aging barrels. And
nice.
I just needed to keep it wet, right? So I took all of the whiskey that I had that I didn't like, and I just poured it all in there just to kind of keep the thing hydrated. And it was like a Montana whiskey called, oh God, I can't even remember, Running Iron, I think. And then a little bit of like a canned scotch, like scotch that you buy in a can
Yeah.
that had been opened as a gag. And I was like, I'll just pour that in there. And then I can't remember what else I put in there. There was a little bit of bourbon, some like leftover bourbon. Anyway, the thing sat for like 7 months and it was fresh charred. So
Oh,
a lot
wow.
of flavor
Okay.
in there. And I pulled it after about a year. I pulled it after a year, and I was just expecting to just like spit it out like it was going to be terrible. It was one of the best things
That's
I've
it.
ever
Yeah.
tasted.
I mean, those infinity barrels and everything else that they'll do, where they'll just kind of like dump all these different bottles in. It's really nice. Yeah, it just reminds me, like it's like my father-in-law actually owned a brewery, and I was his head brewmaster for a couple of
Oh,
years, and so yeah, that was yeah some of the most funnest times, especially like right out of college. Or, it's one of those like I didn't think I was going to be brewing beer for a living, but that was going to all the different festivals and everything. But yeah, we had an oatmeal stout that we made that was really good. And then holidays come around, of course, you have like you have your pumpkin ale and all those other stuff. And pilsners were great. Definitely love like my doppelbox and everything else. But then like that then evolved to like getting into getting into like whiskey and bourbon and scotch and everything else as I started to get older. So, but yeah,
the layers
no,
of I was a head brewer. I had
no,
no
yeah, no. But yeah,
idea.
that's the problem. Is like if I do something, I was like I try to go like it's just like a natural habit of mine. I try to deep dive as much as I can into whatever I'm doing. So it was like which anybody who goes to college more often than not is like you enjoy drinking with your buddies, right? So it's like we went from like that Coors Light, Michelob Ultra. I mean, down here in Texas, it's like you get the Natty Light, which is just kind of like that.
Oh, Natty
We're
Light.
just we're just trying to get hammered, right? And then it's like that evolved into like craft beer, and then it's like I went through my snobbish phase, and then
Yep.
it's like then he had a midlife crisis, opened the brewery, and he's like you're really good with chemistry and everything else. Is like you think you can do this? So I like did this huge deep dive into like water profiles and like how to build your own water profile for each specific product, right? And then building the grain bill and everything on top of that, and then just watching like it all kind of like come together into like this final product was just I don't know, love science, right? So it's like that whole process was great, and then it's like after that now it's like all right, get with the older guys, and the older guys like all right, young whippersnapper, like your craft beer is good, but here taste this, and it's like wow, okay, this is what Scotch and bourbon and everything else is, and it's like, all right, well, that's where you start to elevate to that and everything else, and now I have a collection that kind of rivals like, a wife's like purse or shoe collection, and it's kind of like look back and it's like, I don't know, man, it's a lot of money, so
Well, hey, you party people. Welcome to the podcast. Today we're joined by Pwncakes, which we will litigate how you say PWN over the course of this. And surprise, surprise, Pwncakes Brewmaster. Who knew?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's funny. So it's like way back in the day, we were playing World of Warcraft. It was me and a buddy of mine, and we had a little play on words. Like we'd always go out to like the Waffle House. And we'd eat and hang out and everything else. Of course, without drinking, of course, you have to go eat after after
Yeah.
we go to the casino, come back, or whatever else. But we were playing World of Warcraft together, so it was like we always had like pancakes, and while I would always order pancakes, he would always order waffles, right? So as our character names just kind of evolved into my youngest son or my oldest son, which was my young back then, was like he couldn't say pancakes. He kept saying he would just say Pwncake. He's just Pwncakes and whatever. It's like all right, so we just do PWN, and so I was like, all right, I'm Pwncakes, and it was like, well, I was like, I'm gonna be. He wanted to be a play on that, so he ended up being it was Raffles, Roffles,
Raffles.
and so
Okay.
yeah, and so it was like we were Pwncakes and Raffles for the longest time, and then it just kind of stuck. I've been using it for wow, man, that's 20. When did WoW come out? 2004. It's like 21 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's been hard, even longer than that. I think it's been a while. So it's like at least 2 decades, right? So we just kind of chuckle and laugh, and but yeah, so that's kind of how it came to be.
That's how that one. Were you a big PvPer? Were you into just owning people?
Huge. So
Yeah.
the problem is I'd always hardcore raid, especially when vanilla was vanilla way back in the day, and so when we were doing like molten core and everything else, we were getting all of our like our tier 1, tier 2 gear, and then you go into like you just go to Warsong Gulch, and it's like, oh well, I'm geared in raid gear, you're not, I kill you, right? It's very
Yeah.
easy. So it was like back when Alterac Valleys were like a several hour ordeal to kind of
Yeah.
complete, and then was super competitive and heavy in the Burning Crusade back in like season 1, season 2 when Arena was first kicking off. But then as like most of like hardcore players, there was a couple of the games that were coming out that were really cool. My friends wanted to play, but it was just when they pivoted away from, hey, we want you to key and do all this really cool stuff that you have to grind for, to just like, it's for everybody. Let's give everybody everything, and it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's like it kind of lost that hardcore kind of feel. And then then we went to like Final Fantasy 11, which was like a grind and an insane.
Yeah.
Like it's like you think but man, I came from like I don't know. I grew up in a gaming background. It's like my old man actually used to play D&D with Gary Gygax back in the day in New York.
Wow.
And stuff. Yeah, so I mean, ever since I've been like a toddler, it's gaming's always been there in some degree, right? So it's like I remember being there playing UO during the whole Lord British stuff, and then going into like EverQuest, sitting around in like Lower Guck and all these other places, trying to sitting there camp check, train to zone. I'm trying to sit there and farm my gear, and then all the fabled stuff come out. You're there for like 36 hours just waiting for one mob to spawn with a small chance to get your like fabled flowing black silk sash and stuff. So it's like, yeah, I don't know, old school gamer. But yeah, it's funny to think back on some of that stuff.
There's so many topics there that we could pull apart. One I want to go down real quick is the evolution of Alterac Valley, because when it first came out, it was almost like a little bit reminiscent of Dark Age of Camelot. It was like having a frontier where you could be there for hours and find fights, and if you were a stealth character, you could have a lot of fun hunting people and stalking people. But then I think almost what ruined it is the need to grind PvP for a point system.
Yeah.
Right? Because as soon as you introduce that, now people don't want to be there for 4 hours because they've got this ulterior motive in mind, right? And they just want in and out, in and out, in and out. And WoW lost that. WoW lost basically the entire enjoyment of just being somewhere that was dangerous with a lot of people for a long period of time.
Yeah, like that. Not only that, is like it started to introduce like the whole politics into like your gaming experience, right? It's like you're trying to get that High Warlord title, and it's like, well, there's a line of people across multiple guilds that are all fighting for that title, right? So it's like having a politic and everything else on top of having this like insane amount of like grinding and play, playtime and everything else that you're putting into the game, I enjoyed it, but at the same time, it just got to a point where it's like it ended up becoming more of a full-time job than it actually. It's like I like to enjoy my games. I'll get way too serious and like really break things down because that's just how I am. But at the same time, it's just like when it gets to a point to where it is less fun, more of a job, more monotonous, whatever. It's just kind of like doesn't really lose a feel, but it's just kind of have to take the back pedal, take the foot off the pedal and like put kind of life into perspective because especially when you have kids, like it's it'd be nice to play games 14, 16 hours a day, but let's be honest, like, it's you can't do that all the time. So it's but AV was fun, man. I used to love it. I think it's just the fact that the entire community would come together for your server, right? And you're just like, for the Alliance, death to the Horde, it's one of those, it's and everybody's working together to try to sit there and take it over because they used to feel really like climactic, right? It's like, oh my God, we just pushed into this graveyard. This is amazing. We can end this probably in the next 30 minutes, and before you know it, it's like shit. Here we are, 4 hours later, and we're still fighting. And it's like, but now everything's so fast, and I learned really quickly as I've gotten older. Is like my skills is like Athene, and then just on this around the corner. I am no longer the 20-year-old version of what I used to be. So it's that transition. I'll take my turn-based strategy games now and kind of like stuff that I can pause, think something completely through, and they'll be like, all right, this is the route we're taking. But this quick like fast switch muscle stuff is like. I get laughed at by my kids every time I try to sit there and play like Marvel Rivals or like try to play Call of Duty. This is like this is not even close anymore.
Well, and kids are so good now. Like when we were younger, you'd play a first person shooter. There weren't like these replays and caps of the plays that people make. But for somebody to 180 flip. Insta scope snipe somebody in the matter of like a split second. I didn't see that till like the last 10 years, I think. And some of it's software, of it's software, but people who grew up from literally like 3 years old playing a first person shooter to now.
It's like, it's mind boggling, right? It's just the evolution of gaming in general, right? It's like, I remember playing like the game I grew up on was like we all played like GoldenEye 007. You run around as like Odd Job, like flicking a hat at everybody, right? And then now sitting there watching my 14-year-old play Fortnite, I'm just kind of like the only time that I got the only time I remember being like that fast as far as like APM was like playing StarCraft 2 or like Age of Empires 3, where I'm like trying to like maximize my actions per minute for just moving, like seeing. Like watching them play, and then all of a sudden, it's like the character does like 14 360 backflips, and he's built like 15 different like structures, and he's just like ramping up, and then he just killed 3 people, and I'm like, nope. I just turn around and walk away. It's like, this is not for me. It's like, there's no way I could potentially do something like that. So it's like, give me my spreadsheets, man. Give me my spreadsheets and something that I can break down, and give me some boss mechanics to look at, and kind of like devise the ideal optimized strategy to like take something down. Like, okay, I'm good, but no, there's just no way, man. Like the kids these days, I'm kind of jealous. As I remember my dad walking in the house with the very first cell phone was this massive briefcase, right? And the phone was like just this massive brick that took up his entire head. And then now, just everything, just technology in general. And I mean, not sound like shit. I sound old. It's like, oh man, the kids have it so much easier nowadays. But I mean, realistically, shit. I don't even think we go to the grocery store anymore. The technology has just been so great. It's like we just order all our stuff. It's delivered here. Sometimes we'll have a drone drop it off, and I mean, it's.
Oh, do you have drone delivery where you are?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh wow! I still haven't seen that.
Yeah, so it gets crazy, dude. Like it's just some of the stuff is just mind boggling. Like I don't know.
The generational differences are so funny because, like, for me, my dad was just like, disgusted that I played video games. Like when I got a Nintendo, he was like, "Such a waste of time. It's such a waste of time." And if I'd gone down a different path in life where I had actually made money off games, I look at people like Charlie or Asmongold or somebody like that, where they literally just sat there and played games on camera and became millionaires. And like, if they ever had that disagreement with their parents, which I know Asmongold did, that like, aha, look what I did.
It's hindsight is definitely but it's I would say I was definitely pretty lucky because it's like I guess I grew up to where I don't think there wasn't a week that gone by there wasn't at least because my dad it's like my old man. He was the guy that basically he like ran all the local games for the most part for all the little community in our area, and so it's like our house was always like the place that I would, on the weekends. I don't think there was ever not like a 72-hour like D&D session for like the entire weekend, or like they would go out and like my dad was like the ultra gaming nerd way back in the day, so it's like he would go do the LARPs and everything else, but yeah, we lived where it's gaming was definitely not really pushed, but it was like, hey, you want that new Sega Genesis, or you want this Nintendo system's coming out? Do you want this? It's like, here, I'm getting it anyway, and it's more of an excuse for him to get it really than it was for us, But at the same time, to appease mom is like, oh yeah, I'm getting it for the kids. But I remember sitting there. I think one of the favorite games we played an old Sega Genesis game. We'd play Shadowrun. Or we'd play
OG Shadowrun.
Yep. Or I think one of our favorite games was like War Song for the Genesis. I think they revamped it now. Like Langrisser, yeah. One of my favorite games. We sit there and we play it, right?
Amazing.
Oh, yeah, it was really good. And so, but yeah, it was like just that and just the general like push for the love, just a general love of gaming in general, because it allows, it's like, don't get me wrong, played sports, did football, did baseball, did all that other, cool stuff. But at the same time, it was like, as long as we had a big, huge push for academics, and then it was like, all right, let's go have fun. It's like you did what you're supposed to. You got all your school stuff done. It's like, let's go play some games. Let's go have some fun. And so that was, those.
Well, too, like you talk about sports, and that's something that I hope to evolve the podcast into over time, is just gaming is games, right? It doesn't have to be video games or tabletops or anything like that. And you think about somebody who no-lifes EverQuest, or a pro who no-lifes Fortnite, right? Who's so good, but they're spending 12 hours a day. There's not a tremendous amount of difference between that and someone who no-lifes football. The difference is a physical exertion and maybe like a physical manifestation of benefit, but they could also just go out there and tear their ACL and then they're laid up forever, right? But you got to put in the time if you want to be an NFL player. You don't get to just do that 4 hours a week, right? It's like anything else.
So it's like, I have a prime example. So my youngest, right, insanely athletically gifted, plays. We travel all over the U.S. Him playing baseball. He's just now becoming a freshman in high school. But I coached him a lot. We do Little League for fun, but he plays like really high end, like nationally level, like select or travel ball, right? And so what I would always do, like when I was coaching his little league team, because he would do that for fun with his friends, and my approach is the same thing as like I would gamify baseball, because to where it's like if you treat it as like, don't get me wrong, baseball is a game. But it's like, even looking at it, like you can turn, even when you're like coaching it, it's like, all right, well, what's the strategy for like, I really need to, maximize my number of runs, and looking at the players and treating, kind of like giving all these players like, all right, well, in my head, I'm like, I know little Jimmy, has he can get to first to second in X amount of seconds, and the catcher has a pop time of like 3 seconds, because they're kids, right? So it's like, I know that 9 times out of 10, little Jimmy is going to steal second base every single time as soon as the pitch is delivered. And so it's like getting them to understand like little caveats like that, and then just trying to make it fun and try to introduce, that. I mean, it was I think our last season we went undefeated, won the championship, and I was like, all right, I'm done. It's like, we're not, he's aged out now. Now it's just, I don't know. A lot of people that are a lot more smarter than me in that area. We pay way too much money every month, like way too much money every month for my kid. He's coached by a former Mets pitcher, amazing guy, part of it's like that. Yeah, so it's these. Yeah, we'll see. It's crazy to think that like your 14-year-old's being followed by like 19 Division I coaches and like so many other stuff, and it's like we're just waiting for him to, as long as he stays healthy, waiting for him to get to that point. But yeah, no, sports, it's the same thing. It doesn't matter if you're grinding like you said, it doesn't matter if you're grinding 12 hours a day or hey, you got a kid. You have these kids that they live and breathe the facility. It's because not only that, but you're waking up early in the morning. You're working out. You got your nutrition plan. You got you go to school. Then you go lift weights even more, and then it's like then you're going to get your practice, and then you get your if you're a pitcher, then you're doing your bullpens and your arm workouts and everything. Like it's a like I said, my kiddo and all of his friends, like their schedules are, they're impressive. Like with the amount of work that they put in, and because again, their dream is they want to play college baseball, and the reality is only 2 to 3% of all high school players. I think it's like 2.5% make it to that next level, be it a JUCO or whatever. Don't. I could talk about baseball for literally like three years, but yeah, no, there's a lot of similarities between the commitments of both. So,
when you mentioned that your dad had played with Gygax in New York, was your dad in the gaming industry?
Yes and no. He was just kind of like that guy that he would go to all the conventions and everything else, and he was very extroverted, just really talked to a lot of people. And so he was always the guy who was like, hey, what do you think about this? And he would go and kind of like play, all of his friends' games and everything else. But he was never really, he was just an IT guy that he just loved games. He's just a big nerd. He's just an IT guy that just kind of fell in love with games and he would go to all the different cons way back in the day. He would travel to all of them, and so he would literally go to like every booth and meet any and everybody just to kind of like, oh, this is cool. Let me learn everything I can about it. And so he just really great for his social skills were impressive. Like a lot of friends. So
was the maybe tell us a little bit about the evolution of, you mentioned you did the brewing after college before you got into the games industry. Yep. But was he somewhat responsible? Like, were there connections there, or were you like sort of tertiarily aware that like this is a path for me?
Well, so it all started so I've been playing Magic ever since it came out in like '93, right? And so I remember we were in the mall, we were passing by, there's like a KB toy store, or it might have been, I forget what store it was, but I saw like an Ice Age starter deck, and I was like, that looks really cool. And Dad's like, oh, he's like, we've played that, and I was like, oh, what game is that? And he's like, oh, and I was like, that was this one. He's like, you want it? And I was like, yeah. I was like, oh, I'll take one. And so I remember cracking. I can still remember what that starter pack smelled like when I opened that first pack of Magic cards. And I took a plastic out, and then, I was hooked. And then it's like, from then, me and my friends, I think we played Magic, an unhealthy amount of Magic for years. And even today, we'll still get together and play EDH and everything else. But that was the start of a very, thankfully, lucrative life decision, but also a very unhealthy life decision as well, because it devoured a lot of time. It
takes up time, and especially at a young age, it takes up a lot of money.
Oh, what? Yeah, like I said, I couldn't imagine what would have been like if my parents weren't so accepting of gaming in general, because it's like I would go when it got to the point, just like I would compete in like the JSS back in the day, the Junior Super Series, and like you can compete for scholarships and everything else. It's like I remember qualifying or getting invited to go to Disney when they did the big tournament in Magic for the juniors in Disney, and like all that stuff was fun. And that, of course, transitioned into, hey, let's go to Grand Prix. Let's go to the PTQs. Let's qualify. Let's try to qualify for the Pro Tour. And I was like, that grind and everything else and preparing for all of that was just pretty nutty. But at the same time, it was really fun. You're sitting there playing games with your friends, and I don't know. Some of my fondest memories are all the different trips, and then going out to eat and talking about what deck you're going to play and how what do we think the meta is going to be, and then how do we best approach this. Get prepared for these 9-10 hour long day ones crammed with 400 or 500 people that all smell like absolute ass, and it's oh no, but yeah, that was a fun time. But then it's like transitioning from there. So whenever I would finish the round, I would always go around and I'd do a lot of, like, what do you call it, backpack dealing back in the day, or where I would meet vendors and everything else, because it's like, oh man, this is pretty cool. Like, I was like, you have like a dream setup here. Like, you really just sit here and like sell shit to people, and you're like, you make a living doing this, and it's like, all right, this has something to it. And it's like I realized that it's like, okay, well, I can spend even if you make day two, but it's like I can spend like 9-10 hours a day, grinding this tournament, or I can go spend 9-10 hours a day grinding a collection and buying and selling from vendors and everything else. And I can walk away with more prize money, or I can walk away with more money than what's giving out at the tournament,
prize,
right? Yeah, and then now, fast forward, 20, 20 something years later, like you look around and it's like, wow, some of the stuff that I have, here in closets or in my inventory for the store and just the warehouse, and I mean, like we just picked. I mean, yeah, dude, it's. I'm thankful and blessed to be in a position that I was able to get into something, fall in love with it early, and then it just happened to pay off later in life, right? So it's But again, like I said, I don't know if the old man wouldn't have bought me that starter pack way back in the day. I don't know if I probably would have been, because I think the last thing I was in before I went for my logistics degree and everything else was, or my business management and logistics degree was like I was in pharmacy school, and I was going to be a pharmacist before then. So, but magic was, it's allowed me to do a lot of things in life. So, and opened a lot of doors.
Played all through college then, and still while you were at the brewery.
Yep. Did that, and so it got to the point to where I had decided it got to the point to where I was working as a pharmacy technician at a compound pharmacy, making drugs for like Merkel studies and bone scans, which is kind of like we would take the technesium generator and then dilute it down and then create all the. So anytime you go for like a stress test in a hospital and they inject you with the dye and everything else, I was basically the guy. At least in our area, there's only like 3 people that did it outside of the pharmacist. It's like I was the guy that was making all the Cardiolite, MyoView, like heart scan meds, right? And then. But it got to a point to where I was making decent money, but at the same time it was like. TCG players started up. I had a Crystal Commerce store that integrated into it, and went from me and my wife were we were married for I think 3 years at this point, and I sat there and told her you see how much money? You see how much money we're making here? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, well, how would you feel if I kind of transitioned into this? And she was like, I don't know. That is not a good idea. And so she's like, but I was like, all right, well, give me, probationary period. Like, give me a year. Let's see what it does. And, we'll go from there. And then sure enough, that year turned into, been doing this for a while now. So, but yeah. And then, like I said, that, and then opening the store, doing all that led to going to GAMA, which is just a gaming and manufacturing association's convention out. Used to be in Vegas, now it's Atlantic City. They hold it every year. That's where I met, I met the guys at Force of Will that worked in Tokyo, opened the door to that. And I guess before that I was playing Kaijudo back in 2013, 2014. And that was a WotC game. Worked for WotC writing articles for Kaijudo, but then was also playing competitively, qualified for their worlds every year, and was a multiple KMC champion and all that stuff. And then that's where I met Ryan Miller and Drew Nolosco and all them. Like Drew, great guys. Was actually interviewing to go work for a different project whenever they completely scrapped the Kaijudo Dual Masters project, and all those guys were being basically removed, and so it was like, all right, well, that don't want to move up there if those guys aren't going to be there, right? So of course, Drew stayed, but he later created the Transformers TCG. Ryan Miller and Chris and all them went and did Lorcana, so they're at Ravensburger, and great guys, great team. I went, but I went around the Force of Will Trading Card Game Company with E.G. Shishido, and they're based out of Tokyo. Ended up working with them for years. Ended up being their director of operations for the director of operations and the director of organized play for the entire Western Hemisphere, and so I ran everything, all their competitive events, all their anything you can think of. I handled all the retail accounts, the distributors, and everything else for that game, and they did really well. I mean, it's still kicking. It's at one point I think we were number 4 on the ICV2 list. Past Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and then it was like Force of Will right there for the time being. But then of course it dropped. But
did you work for Wizards of the Coast at any point?
yeah. I worked for it ended up with working with them, writing articles for the Kaijudo Duel Master team, and then and so I was going to transition into the different team, but they scrapped that R&D. I would help. I mean, basically, I would help and kind of like what I'm, doing elsewhere. But it's it's one of those it just. And I think it was in wave 4 of the process, and then all of a sudden it was like, "Hey, don't bother. We just got notification that we're done." And it's we're scrapping the games. Don't tell anybody. But the game's dying. We're killing the game off in June, and here I am, be well. I just made plans for for their worlds or whatever, and it's do I just cancel that? He's no, come, we can hang out and drink a bunch of beer and shit. But it was good. But yeah, like I said, that transition to the whole Force of Will opportunity, and that was, I traveled the world, dude. It was great. Being able to, I'd go to Japan every year. Tokyo's just amazing. Went to Akihabara, Shinjuku. Of course, you have all the other different places. I was one year. I brought the wife and everything else. Went to all the shrines. Went to was going to go to Fuji, but the weather was just really bad. But yeah, definitely it's kind of one of those bucket list items that normally if it wasn't for trading card games or just gaming in general, don't know if I ever would have made. Realistically, don't know if I ever would have made it out there. It would have been on a bucket list to go, but. I wouldn't have gone, 6, 7, 8 times, however many times I've been now. So it was every year we go at least once right now. And so, but yeah, it's it's like I said, it's just funny how, gaming kind of just can take you to places where you never think you'd be able to go. Because I think one of the biggest things that I loved was every year. So it's I ran normally, we'd run 8 Grand Prix, right? And then out of those 8 Grand Prix, we'd have 3 to 4 invites that go out. We would have, each tournament we'd have 300-400 plus people playing them, and then but at the end of the day, it's by the time we would go to Worlds, I would have anywhere from 20 to almost 30 people of kids, normally that 18 to 24 range, bringing them to Japan for the first time, and then I'd have to babysit, and that would just be an absolute nightmare. The stories that. There's plenty of times I've been called, hey, Rob, I'm at the embassy. I think I got in trouble. I was at Kawakichi for too long, and I went to a place that I shouldn't have, and I got in a fight, and I got robbed, and it's I'm oh man. I was or it's hey, Rob, what's soap land? What's this? And I was just stay out of it. We had to finally come up with little SOPs you're forbidden to go to these specific places, because it's or if you do go, just know that whatever happens, that's you. I'm not coming to save you at 4:00 in the morning. One, because the rail system isn't running, so I can't get to you anyway. And I'm not about to take an Uber or a taxi way out of the way to come try to get you. And it's you're on your own. But yeah, that was fun, man. Taking them to the Ikinari Steakhouse in Akihabara is one of my most favorite steakhouse. It's a standing steakhouse, right? And you order it by the gram. And so I went in and ordered a 72-inch steak, right, with mushrooms and everything else, and I finished it all. Right, don't I'm a big guy. It was I finished it all, but they freaked out. So every year I would come back and they'd go, they'd recognize me and they're "Oh, you're a big steak guy." And I was yeah. Yeah, dude, that was the best place. But they would take them there, and it's they would go, and I was "Oh, you for $20 I can eat and drink as much as I like." And I was "Yeah, you can, but moderation, right?" But again, it's. That even that culture in general is this. We can talk about that later, but that is a completely different from here to where it's like it's actually looked. It looks good on you to go out with all of your work buddies after the workday and get absolutely shit faced to where you're like passed out in the street.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And so it's like, but it's different when it's, different from somebody like Japan, different from like a foreigner doing it, because it's like, bad foreigner. You puked all this, like, especially like if you get sick. Oh, dude, don't. Yeah, but I don't know. I digress. I went on a little rant. So.
No, I'll do one anecdote on that, and then we can come back to the CCG progression into your game. But I worked for a company that was international, and there was a Japanese guy that was kind of high up in the company, and so many different memories from this. One of them being like me and him, an Australian and a German, were all standing in a circle, like commiserating and like strategizing over doing something. And I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. 80 years later, the Axis and allies are just all sort of here hanging out together planning business strategy. But prior to me meeting the Japanese guy, I had gone to a speakeasy in Denver. And at the speakeasy, they have like a thing on the menu that says, challenge our bartender, like give the bartender a challenge with something. And I was pretty snobby about whiskey at the time. So I told the bartender, I was like, I see you have Yamazaki 12, make me a cocktail with Yamazaki 12 that doesn't disparage its name, because you shouldn't be making cocktails with Yamazaki 12. So he comes back and he's got basically like a highball glass and a bartender's spoon, a lemon wedge or a lemon peel spiral, and he's like, this is called mizuwari. And he's like, it's like soda water, Yamazaki, and you're supposed to stir it 7 times or whatever. Yeah. And I was like, okay, feels like a cop-out. He just poured water into it. And I drank it, and it was stupid. It was like it diluted the Yamazaki. So later in life, I meet this Japanese guy. He's done exactly what you said. Like, he would drink insane amounts of alcohol after we went out. He would pass out. I guess culturally that was okay for him. Everybody else was like, dude, what are you doing?
That's the thing. Like, we would go out and it was almost you're almost looked down on if you didn't drink to excess, because it's like, because to them it's like, if you can go out with your friends and your coworkers and colleagues and drink to a point to where like you're just like belligerent and everyone's like just having fun and everything, is like, if you can't let loose with us, it's like, like I said, it's just a different culture, man. But it was amazing time. Like I loved every trip. It was always really good.
So I tell that guy the story about the mizuwari, and he's like, in Japan, mizuwari means with water. Yeah. It's like, Yamazaki, very good whiskey, never with water. It's like, yep, I thought I was justified in my snobbishness with that bartender.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. They definitely take certain things to a very high, just that higher level, and it's really appreciative in some aspects. Because I remember having A5 for the first time, and I was like, oh dude, you got to be kidding me! Like, this is just.
I don't know A5.
So A5 Wagyu.
Wagyu.
Steak?
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like the CEO came out, and so he had I guess it was just kind of like we went out personal. He brought me and my wife out to like this excursion. There's this little restaurant. I can't really call it a restaurant, but there's this place that was backed off to the side of one of the big major temples. And I'm not saying that it's not for foreigners, but it's very much like high-end Japanese, like sea-level type invite only, like super, like we'd consider like Michelin 5-star, right? But it's like, there's like super whatever, but he invited me and my wife, because we had I think it was after the first years, like we had like a record sales and everything in the West, and it was huge. The game was massive and everything else. So he brought us out. It was like $5,000 a person, and dude, they come. It was we had geishas waiting on us. We had to dress up and take everything off, and like the meal they prepared. Oh my god, dude! Like they came out with this like plate of just A5 Wagyu, and everything's like perfectly done. Oh, dude, it was. That's why it's to my wife, and I was like, it ruined steak and it ruined sushi for me. Like, it's really hard to come back here to the States, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm from Texas, so we love steak and we love our barbecue, but it's just not the same, man. Like, it's just steak butter, and then the sushi, it's like. It's
I
really
will
hard.
say though,
I can't have sushi in a
Houston
restaurant. Oh,
Houston
Houston's great.
has incredible sushi restaurants
Yeah.
now. Like,
Oh, yeah.
and I attribute it because there's nothing else to do in Houston. There's
Oh,
like
there
20
really
million people, and the only thing to do is eat. So the
Oh,
restaurants have to be like top
I mean, don't
tier.
get me wrong. It's like every time we go to Houston, like we'll go watch the Astros, and or we'll go. Some of our favorites to do is, I mean, of course, the galleries. The gallery is the Galleria. And I love going to like Tejas de Brazil or Fogo de Chao or like these Brazilian steakhouses, where it's just like all you can eat, like amazing stuff. Or then if you go to all these different, like like I said, the sushi restaurants, top notch. Like going, like we just. Like my biggest thing is like my dad's stuff is like it was all games. Like me, I love experiences, right? It's like if I go out, if I take the family somewhere, it's like I'm gonna spend our money on food or experiences that were you're gonna remember experiences. You're gonna remember that really good, it's like you get that like down here is like just barbecue and everything else. Like you remember that first time you bite into like that big beef rib. And you're like, oh my God, like this is, like food is just, like food, music, everything. Like those are just like culturally two of the biggest things that connect everybody. Like it doesn't matter. I don't have to speak the same language as you. But if you and I sit down at a barbecue place and we tear down some barbecue and we look at each other and we just start shaking our heads, there's that connection there, right? And so it's like I said, music's the same way. So, but yeah, no, yeah. Always.
Yeah, so pull us back on track then. So after Force of Will is when is that when you created your game?
Yeah, so I was doing Force of Will, and I was actually in the last year of my my contract. I was getting ready to renew or renegotiate my contract moving forward, and there'd been a shakeup in the. It was kind of weird. Like it ended up being like a hostile takeover. So it was actually owned. It was created by Force of Will was actually created by one guy, but on the board there were like there's like three different people, right? Well, EG, the guy that guy was amazing, right? I love the guy. He's a great guy. Went on under him. Worked with another guy named Kim. But it just got to the point to where like they had like this weird like hostile takeover to where like you had the printer. The printer was like the main like investor for the game, right? And then you had Kim's company, which is it was called I Spy Studios and whatever else. Or no, it was just a different like company, And then you had EG, who was like the CEO founder, but they all had whatever. Well, they got together and like Kim and the printing company like kicked EG out. And as like when they kicked EG out, it was like, well, that's not cool, And then during this time, I had a buddy. His name was Jim McMahon. He had a large gaming store in Ohio. He had been pestering me for years. Hey, when you gonna create the TCG you've been talking about? Or hey, when are we gonna make a game? When are we gonna make a game? We can do it better than, because we'd always complain about all the different problems. Because he ran the ARG Circuit series here in the U.S. for like Yu-Gi-Oh! And a couple Bandai games and everything else. And we'd always complain. It's like, well, how all these different companies were just poorly ran, and that they just, at least their organized play, right? The organized play just wasn't to the level that it should be. And he's like, man, we can do better. And then it's like, he's like, well, why don't you create a game? And I go, he's like, you have experience. And it's like, yeah, but that's a lot of work, man. And then surely over time, like in 2014, he'd bug me. 2015, he'd bug me. So it's like we started, I think, in 2016. I started creating the game. I had all the different archetypes for the overall games, the game structure, the game system, basically everything how it worked. And then brought on another friend of mine, Jeff Jones, who's like a prolific Yu-Gi-Oh pro. He won a lot of like the YCSs and everything. He just wanted really, 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 really smart guy. And so between me and him, we was like, all right, well, this is I think 2017. Yeah, then we got to about 2017. It's like, all right, let's do it. And so we did it, and before you know it, we blink and we're at Gen Con with a $30-something thousand booth completely filled out. We had several hundred people at the release. And we're selling out a product, and it's like, oh shit, we actually did it. Like we made a
Wow.
TCG, and so it was. It wasn't without its hiccups. Like it was crazy, and that's what I was telling the story to like Simon, and so I kind of like I resonate a little bit with them because I understand what they're going through and all the hiccups of everything that's kind of like happening, with what happened during the alpha and bugs and all this stuff like that, and but it's like realizing that it's like, hey man, like this week I think they are I think Wednesday, 3 days is the feature lock for the game, right? So everything that's going to be in the MVP, like it's going to be done by Wednesday and locked in for Wednesday to meet their deadline, right? So it's like that. I mean, I remember that crunch time getting everything done and finalized to ship off to Cardamundi for our print, because like the thing when like you were making a TCG, like especially a newer TCG, it's really hard to break in to the printers because you have to basically justify why should they give you printing time over Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Flesh and Blood, all the Bandai games, all the, all these other games that...
Are they 24/7 printing?
Oh, almost 1,000%, yeah.
And there's no like additional capacity just to
No.
have extra work. It's like
this
resource based, like you pay more.
Yeah, oh, very much so. And it's time slotted, right? So it's like everybody works on, basically every 3 months. There's always something coming out for somebody, right? If it's if it's not a supplemental product. But there's like all of that is like if you're trying to break into that schedule, like you're gonna have to drop some money. That's just how it is. Like, because again, why should they interrupt or push a certain print cycle for a game that they already have a contract for, that they're printing millions of cards for? You know what I'm saying? To come in to print your like $250,000 print run. You know what I'm saying? It's like they'll do it, but at the same time, it's like they have to come up with all the different, all the different schematics, everything that goes in from the foil layers to everything else. Like it's not just something that's just like done overnight. It's not like a print shop where I go, let me upload this image to a T-shirt and just print it. Right? They have to literally get it to where it's like, all right, here's all these different files, different layers, like everything. It's a whole process.
I guess I always assumed that Wizards of the Coast and the big ones, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, all printed their own, but they're all using a third-party printer?
Yeah. So they all normally what they most of the time, again, it's changed. Like I said, I haven't talked to a lot of the guys in a while, but for the most part, they all use Cardamundi. Now what they do have is like Cardamundi has printers all over the world. Like they have, but they'll use. That's why the easiest way to explain is like you ever got a Magic product and these other products, and like one set looks a certain way with the card stock and everything else, and another set will feel like, oh man, these cards feel just maybe a lighter, or the printing's just a little off. Like it's because it's normally from a different printer, right, or a different facility, and sometimes that just comes from hey, we need to get this product done, but at the same time, well, we're printing Pokemon right now, so we really can't print your product, and so it's like I said, the back end of like TCGs is like. I think the most exciting thing for me is like every evolutionary step that I've taken, I've gotten to peel back the curtain just a little bit further and further and further until it's like, but then it gets to a point where it's like, once you know how the hot dog's made, sometimes it's not as pretty as you think it is. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like we launched same time as Flesh and Blood, ran our events and everything else. Huge success, sold out of everything, and kept going. Did it for a while. I think we got all the way up to like set 6, and then we had designed all the way up to set 6 and set 5, set 6, but then we ran smack dab into COVID, right? And so I still remember the phone call where it was me and Jim, Jeff, and a couple other guys, and we were sitting there talking. And it was like, hey, all right, here's the scenario, right? So we had a meeting. It's like, we can't. It was like, I remember they came down with a mandate. Hey, look, everything's shut down. We can't hold events. We can't do anything else. People aren't able really to go to their game stores and everything else. So we started like kind of like self-distributing the game from like from our warehouse in Ohio, and these guys. And then later on, it's like, so we made a game plan up to kind of tackle that. Everything was still going good, and then I think we were several months into COVID. I'd called Jim because we were about to put he was about to put a massive down payment or lock in a contract for to buy this massive like building that we were going to make the headquarters and everything else, and like just go full bore. And it was like, he's asking me, as he straight was like, hey, should we, do you think we should do this? And I go, well, I said, here we are at the beginning of, we're just into the COVID. We don't know how long this is going to last. Like, we have an opportunity to, I mean, it's kind of sad to say it like this, but it's like, you have an opportunity to take profits and then, kind of go out. I was like, I did my bucket list, which I made, as a nerd, I created my own TCGs, right? So I checked that off my list, right? And it just happened to be successful. Like our Kickstarter, we raised 116,000. I think it was just under 120,000 that we raised on Kickstarter, and
what was the name of it again?
It was Argent Saga TCG, right?
Argent Saga.
Yeah, I think the Kickstarter is even still up there, but yeah, I mean, it was great. We sold a lot. Loved all the art. Still have a lot of it, like I have prints and everything else in my office and whatnot. So but yeah, it just got to a point to where I was just like, hey man, as like the fact that we can recoup all of our initial investments and then some and move on to something else is like, I think it's probably the best interest for all of us, at least the higher end, like founders.
Yeah, psychologically, you're like, yeah. I can check the box. We did it. We were successful. The game's fun. People have it, and we can make money. Or we can say maybe it continues, but we got to dump all that and go into a bank loan scenario for the next step in summer of 2020.
yeah, and we're absolutely unsure how long this is going to last and everything else. And I'm sitting there looking at the wife, and the wife's giving me like, "Oh my God, what's going to happen?" type of situation. I was like, "Let's just family first it," and and we just took
any shot at a reboot. Have y'all talked about it? And now that the world is kind of recovered.
We did. We've talked about it a lot. I know there's been a huge community push to relaunch the game and everything else, because I mean the game was really fun. A lot of people loved it. People still playing it. Still sending me messages from time to time, and it's one of those that I think if we were to do it again, it would have to be a digital product. I don't think I wouldn't recommend anyone actually launching a paper TCG in 2025. Just because the monumental stuff. I was just having this conversation because I mean I got asked the same question by the guys in the Hivemind. It's like I want you to launch another one. I was like, all right, well, first off, I have to convince a distributor to carry my product, right? Then I have to convince a retailer to then carry my product. It's like, why should I spend money on your game when I know I can instantly sell out of Magic, Pokemon, et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on and on, right? And then once you've convinced the distributor and the retailer, it's like, now I have to convince all these players to give up all of these games. Like, it's like, hey, come buy my product. It's like you've been playing Magic for 20 years, but come buy my product. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like that's another step. And it's like to go through all of that, and then it's like it's not easy, man. Creating stuff like that is not easy. I had that conversation with some of the Fateless guys. It's like, even though we talked about, I think we talked a little bit even on that podcast that I was on. It was just like, it's different when, let's say I create a card, right? Little Timmy opens up the card in the shop. He's like, "Oh my God, that's amazing!" But then it's like, "Hey, we ban that, or we errata it, or whatever else." And it's like, "Oh, sorry, little Timmy, you can't play with that card, right?" There's just a lot, man. It's very. I like I said, was like, I envy game devs just because it's real simple to throw a patch out and be like, all right, we're tweaking Zeus's numbers to this, or hey, we're switching Brynhild or Wukong, or it's like you can make these on the fly adjustments. Where in trading card games you just can't. Like, it's like once a card's printed, it's out there. It's like if you're going to reprint it, then it's like, all right, now we got to justify the reprint. There's just a lot of extra work, and it's just a lot easier in my opinion. Yes, it's more costly, but at the same time, I don't have to, with a digital TCG, I don't have to worry about global distribution. I just have a product that everybody in the world can connect to and play immediately, right? So I don't have to worry about getting physical product in their hands and then praying that that a retailer has enough faith to be able to change. Because if you could, the biggest issue with like TCGs is if I could personally put a brand ambassador in every single store to run all of the tournaments and hype up the community and build a community in every retailer, then yeah, it's a no-brainer. But if you're going to expect most of these retailers to go in and like champion their own play groups they barely, some of them will barely do it for Magic, Pokemon, or they just expect the game just to kind of like build itself. You know what I'm saying? But it's like for new games,
Interesting.
It's way, way, way harder than people think it is. And so,
Well, and you do have all that cost is sunk into the physical aspect of it.
Yep.
Where with a digital good, you have a lot of cost in other places, but you don't, for instance, have to wait on the one card printer to fit you into their queue to do anything digitally, right? You can just jam another app in the App Store, Android, Windows, whatever.
Well, I think you basically get to double down. Which, I mean, I loved all there. We went with Gunship Studios, they did some amazing work, some digital artwork for us. But it allows going the digital route. It allows you to like double down on that art aspect, right? To where it's, you can just really double down on the art and overlays, that whole digital side of things. And so it's like, I'll put it this way. People are like, people look at a Magic card and they're like, oh man, this is like, how can cardboard be expensive? It's like, try printing 250,000 boxes and tell me. It's like, it adds up really quick, especially when you start adding different foil layers and different foil patterns and everything else. And I think one of the things that I kind of liked is we were the first, if I'm not mistaken, trading card games to print serialized cards.
Every card had a serial number?
No. So you know how Magic and the collector boosters, they'll have like that rare like serialized card that you can pull out of the collector booster. We did the exact same thing with like our legendaries right out the gate, because Jim was a huge baseball fan and he wanted to get like the 1 of 1 or the 1 of 150 or whatever else. Yeah. And so what happens? We printed serialized cards out of whatever, and then now, I mean, serialized cards are everywhere. So that was the one thing I kind of snicker a little bit. It's like,
affected the industry.
I see what y'all did there now. So it's like, yeah, it's kind of nice. But other than that, I mean, yeah, it's overall the process was amazing. Loved every second of it.
I wonder how things change now then. Because clearly, you're not the only one with that lived experience or that sentiment. It's got to be a big wrestling with that anybody goes through if they want to go down that path. And then to your point, the distributor, the retailer, it's like, well, I've got 3 that people care about and play and buy. Why would I, take a chance? And I never got into Pokemon. I never got into Yu-Gi-Oh. I think I used to joke back in the early 2000s that Pokemon was a way for Magic the Gathering people to have someone to make fun of. It was like, but I mean, big popular game. But like, I fell out of love with Magic for a lot of the reason that I've fallen out of love with a lot of stuff, which includes the recent Raid Shadow Legends thing that they did, which is that multiverse is an excuse to me now, especially having worked in intellectual property. You talk about peeling back the layers and knowing how the sausage is made. When somebody does a multiverse collaboration just so that they can use something that's also popular, what I see in my mind is 2 trademark attorneys getting together to inside counsels and being like, I'll lease you this property for X amount of money, and now I'm creating revenue for my company, and it's like nothing to do for the love of the IP, nothing to do for the love of the mythology. It's all business, and so when Magic comes out with, whatever random thing they did, Spider-Man or whatever, I'm just like, it's not Magic. It has nothing to do with Planeswalkers, zero desire.
Well, their entire direction changed once they started getting new CEOs, right? It became more of a, how do we maximize the bottom line?
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Yeah, and so I mean, don't get me wrong, like being a subsidiary Hasbro, like if that bottom line, they're not gonna sit there and put up with seeing a bunch of red, negative red numbers, right? It's like, we need to, quarter over quarter, we better see some positive growth, otherwise people just aren't gonna have jobs. And
I knew it. When Hasbro bought them, I was just like, man, it's gonna go downhill now. It's gonna go downhill. I mean, good for them for getting their money, but
it's just gone a different direction. I mean, that's all it is. Like you see it, and also you see it a lot in now, and even gacha games and everything else. Like, I mean, as predatory as Raid is, like, all these different gacha games, like they're a business first. Like anybody that tells you that that they're creating something and at the end of the day they're a business first. Like they want to do everything for the community, but at the same time it's like they're not. It's like, put it this way, Fateless isn't spending like 14-15 million dollars to only recoup 3. You know what I'm saying? Like it's it'd be different if it was a full on like just a passion project, but it's like I'm pretty sure they want to make some money. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so we'll see what happens when like monetization really drops and we get the pricing structure and everything. So it'll be interesting to see how the community kind of pivots on that, because I feel that's going to be pretty controversial.
Yeah, I mean everybody knows it's coming, right?
I mean anybody that doesn't think we're not about to be on the exact same monetary system, maybe just they've probably taken the slider just a little bit and made it better from a raid monetization program or economy structure. I mean, anybody with I think half a brain will realize that's probably the direction we're heading, but doesn't mean they won't give us a lot of more free stuff on top of that as well, right? So
I think you've got a really like knowledgeable or passionate fan base too in terms of the competitive landscape, where everybody sort of realizes that in a pay-to-win model, it's not that there's no skill. Skill isn't the deciding factor, right? Wallets are the deciding factor. And so 99.999% of people can't actually compete. Because even if you're the person who's like, I don't care, I'm going to drop $2,000 a month on this game. Like, well, you're small fries, right? There's somebody out there that's dropping 100. And then that dude's like, well, I'm dropping 100 and I still can't compete. That's because there's somebody out there dropping $1 a month, And like, it scales forever. And unless you're Elon Musk, you can't win that battle. And so for the rest of the player base, for tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people, to play on the even playing field is the free-to-play account. And like, how far can I get with a free-to-play account? And even if you have to monetize the game for whales, I think we're potentially going to look at a shift in whale habits, because how many times will you experience the sunk cost fallacy and recover, right? How many times will you give up on your $1 million raid account? How many games, right? 5 in a row. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. I could have bought 2 more yachts. I could have bought 2 more vacation properties.
Oh, for sure. Like I said, we had that conversation just the other day, because I think like Sage was talking to another one of the members. I think he was talking about Mathurian, and we were just kind of talking about monetization and just in general. I think they were focusing more on what they think is going to happen in like Godforge and just monetization in general, how they feel that it should go. But it's like, it's like, as you mentioned, like it's a fine line when you start building these economic systems for games, because you get from the not just Faithless, just anybody. It doesn't matter if you're Netmarble or any of these other guys. It's like you're going to want to make a profit, but at the same time, it's like, how much juice can you squeeze out of that lemon before
At least we won't have to wait like another year, right? I've heard a lot of different rumors, that some vetted, some not vetted, about when we're launching, and I think it's much sooner than some people think. So
for sure. Like, I'm
quite excited.
Yeah, from the conversations that I've had, we're and I think even Susie said at this point too, right? I think from a community manager's like public whatever statement standpoint, I think the February-March time frame is probably where they're 9 times out of, we're probably launching somewhere there. Granted, dude, it's still game development. Like, we can get to the early access and something could still be just absolutely broken that needs more time, right? And so, I mean, or maybe not then. It's like we may get, I know they're doing their internal testing, right? So it's like something could be absolutely broken that's not working, that they just can't, it's just not going to make it, and they maybe need to push it a little bit further to make sure that it's still in there. But I just learned a long time ago in game development, you never say never, right? Because things happen. Like, and the problem is, like, one small thing that you don't think would be a small thing ends up being something big and creates delays. Like, I think we were supposed to get, I think they even teased that we were supposed to get the mini game, right? And so now
mythical browser-based game that was supposed to launch a month ago.
Yeah, and so here we are, we're mid-December, and I'm sure it's coming, right? But it's one of those, like, delays happen, and so it's like I said, fingers crossed. I really do hope for everybody that it is that February, March, especially with like King Arthur doing their TOS in March. I think that that's a good opportunity to pick up even more players.
Yeah.
Sucks that their game is ending, but I mean,
Well, it's their own fault.
I mean,
don't
true.
know if maybe they created an engine where they couldn't innovate quickly. I don't know if that's possible, but they just didn't release content and characters fast enough. Very good game. The game itself was a lot of fun. From the monetary standpoint, too easy to get what you needed, and from the content standpoint, it just was a desert.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was definitely one of those to where, like I played when it first came out, and I spent a lot. I think I spent, actually, yeah, I think I spent like 1,600 or whatever when it first came out.
Oh wow, you went
Oh
way
yeah, yeah,
far.
yeah. Well, I mean, I will say is like I won't consider myself. I'm not a Kraken, but I do spend really heavily. Like, spent like 15 grand in Lineage 2, about the same in BDO. Yeah, no, I
I
spent
did play Lineage too.
yeah, I spend a lot of money when it's like it's something that I find enjoyment in. It's like I'm going to spend like a crap ton in. And Terrace and played Terrace Land, spent an ungodly amount in Terrace Land when the like kind of like the Chinese WoW mobile knockoff. It was kind of weird because we actually the group I was with. We were raiding with. We actually got world first on a lot of the raids, and we were actually competing.
Cool.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. It's like we were competing against Liquid with Max and with all those guys. Yeah, we actually beat. It's kind of we actually beat them on the first boss by it was in the speed challenge by 1 second, and it was pretty awesome. So,
That's
but
nail biting, man. That's been
oh,
amazing.
well, no, okay, got to the point. So this is kind of real small little whatever tearaway, breakaway. But so it's like the fight was pretty self-explanatory. Mobs would spawn. You go down and open the gate, and they would trigger. You have to kill the waves, and before you know it, you come back, and then the big boss would spawn. You kill the witch, and then that's basically it. She had a couple different phases. Well, both of our times were the exact. We had min-maxed it to the point to where it's like, all right, we're both killing it with like precisionally to like the second. Both of our attempts were tied. And then we're sitting there racking our brains, and I'm like, how can we shave off a second? Because all of our gears, we all have the same gear. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, we ran it for hours and hours and hours, so we had multiple iterations of like overall damage output, and we're all basically pushing the exact same amount of damage. And so we're looking, so I went down, broke the kit down. So the Ranger actually had an ability, an arrow that would push a unit, right? So the beginning of the fight, there's the mechanic. The mechanic is it spawns, and if any of the mobs get past and go to the gate, it's either a timed event. It's either a timed. It either blows up after a certain second, or if one of the mobs get there, it would blow it up. It would blow the gate up, and then it would automatically spawn the waves before the boss. Well, figured that as like, hey, it takes this pretty decently long path and then does like a little dog leg. And I was like, I wonder if we can literally shoot this arrow that pushes, right? I wonder if I can shoot this, get behind the mob, and like literally shoot the arrow to push him down the path to get him to trigger the gate sooner. And it did. Like, so what we did is like ended up like I lined up like 3 Rangers in a row, and then we just kind of like chained it to where it would push, and it would immediately push the mob right in front of you. So the next person would then daisy chain it, and then you would run up, and then yeah, that's how we shaved like 1 second off to beat them for the world first. So it was awesome, dude. But yeah, so it was all fun.
Well, in terms of the content creator journey, did you start doing content before Godforge, or did you start doing content because of Godforge?
So I did content way before.
Okay.
But then it got to the point to where it was. Most, like I said, I mostly stream. I know the guys at Hivemind wanted me to do like YouTube and everything else, but mostly it was I would stream and we would do I would do like if I did YouTube, it was basically to make it private to do old school like raid strat videos that we would hide, and then it's like, hey, look, hey, this is the boss strategy. This is what we're doing. It's an easier way to like inform 40, 50 people in a guild how to sit there and how we're going to approach this boss than to actually make it available for like content. So, but now I think they wanted me to like do actual content. But I mostly stream. Like I said, I like being extroverted, talking to people and playing games and helping them out because it's a lot easier to It's a lot easier to be on a stream and like say somebody pops in and has a question. It's like, hey Rob, I'm stuck. I'm stuck with on this stage. Here's the characters I have. How do you recommend? How can I beat this stage, or how can I accomplish this? And it's very easy to be like, hey man, look, do you have this? Like, here's a team comp that can work, or just real time back and forth feedback. Where versus like comments on a YouTube, it's like, I don't want to have to sit there and go back to like check my YouTube and look at all the comments and then have to reply to replies, and it's try to streamline and optimize the process as much as possible. So, plus, we have some amazing content creators in the YouTube format anyway. So it's
What game did you start streaming with then?
Oh geez, oh man. So we did. I think we started way back when I really took it seriously. It was like I used to raid. I used to stream Hearthstone back in the day. Hearthstone was a great game, man. Loved Hearthstone. Did Magic. Did Magic, of course. But then I think as we broke into when we started doing MMOs, I would stream WoW. I would stream. So we did a lot of like world first, realm first, like NA first stuff for like Rift.
Rift, yeah.
Yeah, Rift was really good. Star Wars: The Old Republic. We were the guild that I was running. It was called Nerfed, and we were invited to the alpha test. We did all of the first couple expansions for Rift. One of the first guys to go groups to go in and like down green scale and all that stuff like that. So that entire raid was fun.
The thing I remember about Rift was Saboteur. Early Rift Saboteur put 5 or 6 charges on somebody and then remote detonate them. That was like the most fun thing.
Oh, it was fun. So I loved playing the Chloromancer because it was like I can heal, but then I can also deal damage, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's pretty good. But yeah, we do that, and it's kind of the same thing. It's like I'd stream PvP stuff. A lot of it was just it started as me streaming it for people that weren't in the main raid core to be able to also watch what was going on in the main raid. So that it's like, it's one thing to be in Discord, but it's like if you're not watching it, right, you're not seeing the mechanics in real time. It's kind of hard to be like, well, that's a really cool spreadsheet he has that kind of like shows you the diagrams of where to stand and where to do this. But when you get to see it in real time, it made a lot of sense for a lot of people. It made it click. People learn differently. You have your audio learners, your visual learners, and everything else, and so it's just you kind of throw it all into one media outlet, and that's basically what it did. Then I took a break for a long time, and then as things do, they die off, and it's like, all right, well, it doesn't really make sense to go and kick off an ancient YouTube channel or whatever else with whatchamacallit. We just relaunched everything for the alpha, and
gotcha.
Yeah, here we are. Thanks. I did. I think Susie, I think I put a video out or whatever else, and I was streaming, and then Susie reached out. I was like, "You should be in the content creator program," and I go, "Should I?" And she goes, "Yeah," and I was like, "All right, well." Send me. Is like, do I need to sign something? Is like, you need to send me a link or whatever. And so, but no, then here we are. So we had
Susie the worm tongue in the background, whispering in everybody's ears.
Yeah, I was sitting there. I laughed with the guys because like I almost didn't actually get into the alpha, at least in Alpha 2. So I had messaged Simon, which I know is I messaged Simon I think 12 hours before Alpha 2 was supposed to launch, and I was like, hey. How you been, man? It's like, it's been a while, and I just saw that the alpha was launched. I didn't know that it, it's like, I know you're working on it, blah blah blah. It's like, can I get in? It's like, you think you can get me in? And he goes, yeah, I'll send you a code. And then I was able to get in, and then like the whole Alpha 2 process. Alpha 2 was fun, man. All the guys were great, and then we they transitioned to Alpha 3 and everything, and then now here we are waiting for early access. So I mean, It's been a fun journey, man. It's been
2026 is going to be a fun year. It's going to be spring is going to be a fun time.
I don't think my bank account's going to like 2026, but I don't know. As I was messing with the guys, I said, man, I'll just grab some dual lands or something, and I'll just throw them at I'll just trade some dual lands for a bunch of Godforge characters for the most part, and I'll be able to get a lot of enjoyment. So,
Well, we got really one more topic. I mean, we can certainly circle back to culture, but we've touched on that with definitely a lot of the game industry and the time that you spent in Japan. But you had mentioned before we started recording that you actually got a music major.
I did. I was when I graduated high school, I was a music major, and it was one of those to where I loved music. I was in the band, went to state, did all that stuff, played trombone, baritone, Sousa, played a bunch of brass instruments. Really loved like that epic low brass. Just loved everything about it. I mean, all my kids played, but yeah, I was like I went to college for a music major, and then during that process of like me going and like buying and selling cards and buying collections and doing all this stuff, I realized that I was talking to one of the composers of one of the local symphonies, and I was talking to my professor, and I was like, hey, I was just curious, you don't have to tell me, but how much do you make per year? And and he told me how much he made, and I was like, ooh. And I was like, I don't know if that. It's like, don't get me wrong, I love music, and the music's amazing, but at the same time, it's like, I want to be able to make let's be honest. I want to make more. I wanted to make more than like 50 or 60,000 a year. That's just basically what it boils down to. And then, at least where I'm from, like that, you're like pushing it even at that. It's like your local high school band directors aren't running around making an exorbitant amount of money. But so it kind of like changed my focus. But I still stay. I mean, I've loved music. I mean, I don't know. I just love music in all genres. It doesn't matter if it's classical to modern rap to 1950s, 1960s, or just like everything. It doesn't matter. Like I just love music in general, and so it is kind of like.
Are you drawn to brass since you played it?
I think just classical pieces in general. I do, but I do love. I just do love like that old medieval, like, because like when I think of like music like way back in the day, right? They're just like kind of like an orchestral, or even like way back in medieval times where they had just it was just brass instruments with some lyres and everything. Like that just kind of feel is, I don't know, like the beginnings of music for the most part were just just kind of like connect to me. Like it was listening to, I think one of my most favorite pieces is there's a piece, a trombone solo by Mutter. It's called Ages. It's like this. It's a solo performance that goes through like what your life is at like birth, and it goes all like it's just a movement that it's multiple movements that like kind of like signify the different stages of life, and so they call it Ages. But it's an absolutely beautiful piece of music. And then
solo trombone.
Yeah, it's a solo trombone. It's accompanied with a piano accompaniment.
Okay,
I can send you the link for it. Like it's just really, I mean, it's just really beautiful. And that, and just like the epic brass, like you start looking at like Portals. Like there's the song Portals at the end of Endgame, right, where they're he's standing there with the hammer, the portals open, dun, 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 the whole like Avengers theme type, whatchamacallit, like that with like the epic low brass, piece or arrangement is, dude, chef's kiss. Like it is, like it's just powerful. Like, and then because me and my wife will go to the symphony, and dude, it's some of the best stuff. Like I think they just went to the Nutcracker last night, and the symphony was playing the Nutcracker, and it's like that's really good. But don't get me wrong, like the guys, like they'll sit there and look, it's like, there he goes, like spam, because we have a little bot spam, because we have a little like music bot, and it's like my playlist is eclectic as hell. Like it's just all over the place. Like you'll get like Devin the Dude or Big X the Bug or Zero from like Houston rappers and or Texas rappers and everything else, and then you'll go to like this classical music piece to this other stuff, and then kind of like we were talking about earlier, like my new favorite kind of like my new favorite kind of like category is how all the different AI covers of all these songs that are coming out. Dude, it's funny. Like I'm telling you, like Lose Control by Teddy Swims, but the 1950s AI soul version, and I'm telling you, take the play speed and lower it to point 0.9 or 0.85, and it's completely different. Like it's awesome. And so, or like you mentioned, like the 50 Cent Mini Man, like dude,
Yeah, mini man.
that stuff is. I mean, like I don't know. Like I said earlier in our earlier conversation, like dude, if that's what AI is doing with music now, I can't imagine what it's going to be
Yeah, what
like
is
in
it?
like 5 or 10 years.
Because the slop, I mean, the slop aspect is very real concern about anything that we just get overwhelmed with what it can do that we no longer like value what it can do anymore.
Yeah, yeah,
Where becomes the differentiator? Is it in the prompt craftsmanship? Is it in actually like, getting a bunch of recordings and the human editing it? But at some point there's a break point, right? The
yeah,
AI can get so good that at what point do you just quit caring?
yeah, yeah. It's I don't know. It's definitely something to think about because it's I like I said, going back to that talking about technology, like my kids can't even fathom where when I was growing up. I can't, like I said, look, you're gonna have the exact same thought process as like of where you're at right now, and like whenever you have kids, and then you're having that conversation with your son. It's like, well, back in my day, AI looked like this, and it's like I can't even imagine. Like it's the possibilities are endless. I mean, games. I mean, and before we have award ceremonies where it's just like AI category this, AI category that, and so I
Right.
mean
Yeah. Whole
it's
award ceremonies
yeah,
in AI.
exactly. Yeah, I mean
I
it's
remember back in the day when we controlled the AI.
well look. I mean look at it now. I mean think of the streamers. I mean there's people already using. I mean, have you seen some of like the star like I if people like are Star Wars fans or everybody else, go look at the Star Wars AI content that's
Oh
out
yeah.
there, dude. I mean, like when are we gonna get full AI movies? Like
Oh,
we're
they're
just
coming. They're
dressing,
coming
yeah,
soon.
you're saying exactly right. And so it's like, dude, the like I said, possibilities are endless. Is like it's super exciting, but at the same time, it's like. All right, are we about to have like? Am I go take out the old Terminator? Terminator 2, like set VHS to sit there and do some homework because it's like, what are we getting ready for type thing. But it's but no, it's definitely something to look forward to, or even games like I I don't know when
When's
we
the first completely AI generated
yeah.
game coming out? Yeah.
Well, that's what I was sitting there. I had a conversation with a buddy of mine. MMOs, right? So there's actually a game project that's being developed right now where that's an MMO where they take the actual the boss and instead of having a static script of hey he does this every couple
Oh yeah,
GCDs or has it
dynamic
whatever
AI.
yeah yeah and it's like all right well you've killed the boss but now the boss has learned from the last time you fought it and so dude it's scary to think that that could be potential. I'm potentially super stoked to play something like that down the road because it's like to be able to fight something that learns from your previous engagement and then comes back and like oh well I know they blew their bloodlust at this percent and so he's like gets defend like it just changes everything up, dude. That would be
It'll be
amazing.
cool.
Yeah,
That'll
so.
be it. Until it like is too good, right? You
Yeah,
still
that's
have
the
to nerf
problem.
it
It's,
somehow.
yeah, exactly. That's like at that point, it's like what's the stopgap measure, right? So it's like, I don't know.
Well, on the brass piece, yeah, I always like to recommend something to people. Have you heard of Hot 8 Brass Band?
Mm-hmm.
Hot 8 Brass Band, because you're not too far from New Orleans.
No,
Those
not at all.
dudes,
Yeah.
they're not doing AI covers, but their cover of Sexual Healing is one of the best songs I've ever heard.
Yeah, yeah. Every time we go down to Bourbon Street, I mean, it's a really good time, man. Like I said, I'm I'm Cajun. My entire side of the family is over there.
Oh,
we
yeah.
have we have hundreds, if not thousands, of acres of crawfish farm, and it's it's really let's just say Easter Sunday is really nice around that time because it's all my family members they're practicing Lent, right? So it's like they can't have this is so they just eat crawfish, and so we'll have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds of crawfish, and yeah, it's just a good time. But yeah, we go down to Bourbon Street for Mardi Gras, and dude, it's hard not to go get a beignet and just kind of sit back and
At 3 o'clock in the morning.
oh, very much so, dude. the things you see on Bourbon Street at 3 o'clock in the morning is so well. You see a lot of good things, but some things you're like, oh, some things are a privilege and not a right. I'll just put it that way. Like, so,
I was thinking the last couple times I've seen a guy naked wearing chaps. One of them was in Seattle and he screamed at me. The other one was in New Orleans and he was hitting on me. And it's like, I don't know, which one do I want? I think I want the guy who's not dangerous.
yeah.
Well, cool. The Twitch channel has been maybe not going live every week recently, right? But it's gonna go live like daily when we get into
so it'll be once actually I think once we get the mini game is as sad as that says, it's like I'll probably stream the mini game heading into it just to kind of get back into the whatchamacallit of like doing the daily stream and building that consistent schedule, because that's the main thing about streaming, right? Is like it has to be consistent, because if you're not consistent, then it's like, well, I'm just not going to watch. But then when early access hits, it'll be a daily thing, and it'll be probably spending too much money. I'll probably have a free to play account, but we'll basically be spending too much money and then playing Godforge with all the guys, and then like trying to push content as hard as we can.
I know there's like no advantage for them to be transparent about the finances, but because they're content creators, it would be fascinating if Simon would do a video like 6 months to a year in and say like,
oh, for sure, these
are percentage breakdowns of how the revenue works. 80% comes from definition of a whale, 1,000 plus month, something like that, right? Like it would be cool to see that, so that the general public knew just how important or how worthless free-to-play players were, you know? And how, like, what the actual, like, spend of whales is, and how much they're responsible for keeping things afloat.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, like, talking to friends that I have in this space, some of the numbers can be shocking. I mean, some of it kind of, differs from game to game. But, yeah, I mean, like I said, the most majority of the people are free-to-play, and then the other, like, it ends up being like this large brick of, like, whales do spend. They spend on like the lore. I mean, there'll be some. I'm sure there'll be somebody. We'll have $100,000 whale probably playing Godforge. At least that. I'm sure that's their hope. You know what I'm saying? They get one of these big mega raid whales to come play, and then they fall in love. But realistically, it's more often than not we're gonna get. I would rather, in my opinion, get 40, 50, 60,000 people that spend $20 a month. Like if you like, that's something that we had a conversation. Like I'm almost curious of could a gacha game get to a point to where it is insanely it's profitable if they just went subscription based and went away from the granted there's not as much high top end, but if they just went a full subscription based economic system. But again, it's investors and everything else they're not going to like that price. That that price, they're not an MMO, right? So, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But I would personally rather have, if I can get even $10, from 50,000 people. I mean, it's a lot of money, man. Like 20. I mean, you get to the point where you're making, a mil or two, a month. Then they've got a hit on their hands, because while they may not recoup all 14.4 million, if not, I'm sure it's probably 14, 15 million, it's all about the same, right? But you get to a point where you're making money like that, it's like, you may not have that huge spike in the beginning where it's like, oh man, it's like, let's be honest, they're not making their money back in the first month. I don't see that happening at all.
Oh, no.
But yeah, it's like, but they get to the point to where like they're doing like, if they can get to the point where they're doing a couple mil a month, then I mean,
and it'd be cool too if it keeps the company afloat and allows them to develop additional games, right? Because again, it's a good group of people.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I think that's the best thing to have going for them. They did it right from that aspect of, community first, very community driven guys, very very likable, but it's going to get to a point to where will it continue once the game launches? You know what I'm saying? It's like things change once, we'll see what happens. I don't think it's going to change. I think they're going to, I think there's been enough time to where if there are red flags or anything else, we as a community, we've already would have sniffed them out, right? So it's like I think what you see is what you get. I think they have a genuine love for what they're doing and for the project, and I think they're just genuinely good people. And it's man, it's hard not to support people like that, especially in the gaming industry. When most of these games, I mean, like I said, I'm sure you've been playing games a long time. I've been playing games a long time. Man, a lot of these companies could give two shits what you or and so it's like they're just like, all right, well, it's like, yeah, that's a great thought, but hey, look, you see this pop up that just popped up? It's like, for $9 you can get this next champion, or come buy this, this extra energy. But here it's, like I said, time will tell, but at least they have, I think the foundation is in a good place for,
Oh yeah.
So we'll see.
Well, then we'll put the link to the Twitch channel below, and make sure you check it out when either the browser game launches or we hit early access. And Pwncakes going to be going daily, I can guarantee you.
Oh god, yeah. I don't think the guys are going to let me slack off, because I think we've already started spread. I mean, we still have our spreadsheets and everything else, and so I think the big thing is once we know the boss mechanics and everything else, I think that's going to be the big thing is, getting that information out, or at least making it public. It's like, hey guys, this is how we're clearing, stage whatever, the max stage of, this boss or that boss or that boss or whatever else, and it's just getting it out to help people, because I mean, if you've never played Raid before, or any games that are that are like this, unless you're spending a crap ton of money, man, let's be honest, you're not going to be walking around with Wave 3, Awaken 5, everything around it. It definitely made Wave 3 a whole lot easier. But not everybody's going to be walking around with like that. So it's like a lot of onus is going to be on those rares and epics to kind of pull a lot of the weight. And then, if you're lucky enough to kind of get some choice legendaries, during that process or heading up to that process, then I mean, you're better off. But yeah, for the most part, that'll be the big thing, is just getting a lot of information out to the community to help them push past that stuff. Because the last thing you want is, I think everyone's invested to kind of have the community grow in general, and then the game grow as well. And it's like gatekeeping kind of doesn't help that. But then it's also if people can't find a realistic way with what we're going to be given basically to clear this content, then they're just going to give up, right? It's like, why should they leave Raid, or why should they leave all these other games to keep playing this game, if it's like, well, I start another account and pray that I pull something. But it'll be good. I think everyone's looking forward to it, and so I know my guys are. And yeah, if you're needing a home or whatever else, and you're looking to play competitively, come check us out. I think our Discord link is in the recruitment channel. It's the Hivemind. So yeah, it's just a bunch of guys hanging out. We're super sweaty, but we're really laid back. I mean, it's like I said, we have a lot of fun playing games and trying to break stuff. So yeah.
Right on. Well, check out Hivemind in the recruitment channel. If you haven't joined the Godforge Discord yet, I'll try to put that in that invite link in the YouTube description. And thanks again for joining us today, Pwncakes. Really appreciate your time. Really appreciate the industry stories. I think you're the first game employee, if that makes sense, that we've ever had, as in someone who makes games for a living. So
yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, anytime. It's been fun.
Very cool. And thanks everybody for listening.
Thanks, guys. Later.